Generals win the war, but the politicos, the politicians, make the peace. We have an environment here that when a player leaves here, we can shake hands and say, we won't forget you. You be proud that you wore the patch, you wore the silver and black, and that you played for the greatest organization in professional sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Back to it.
Touchdown Las Vegas.
We're back at it, ladies and gentlemen.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said before,
Let
we
me
are
mute
gonna.
myself
This is
right
going to be a
now.
video on.
Back at it again. For those who were here yesterday, sorry, we had a little mishap. It will not happen again. I will be looking at both screens. So today, the topic of today is going to be the Raiders' offensive line. All of them. Every single one of them. We're going to cover it. The good, the bad, the drama. Yes. Last year. This is the number one question. You have Mendoza, but what about your O-line? What are you going to do with that? Is that fixed? We're going to talk about that. Before that, however, hit the like, hit the subscribe. And before that, one really cool thing that I've been experiencing as a Raider fan this year that I have not experienced in a long time. And I need to be honest about this. Raider fans haven't had this in a while. This thing that I'm, just say it, dude. What is this thing? This thing that whenever I'm out now and I run into a Raider fan, we just feel good about what's coming. I know I'm not the only one who's seen it. Like, I just got done talking to a Raider fan like 3 hours ago at a store that he works at. You know he's a Raider fan because the moment you walk in, you see him, you're like, oh yeah, it's a Raider fan. Oh yeah, it's my brother from another nation. I don't think he grew up in Canada. I think we both just ended up here. But yeah, Raider fan. And we got to talking, and the moment we started talking, it became pretty clear what everyone was thinking. This is what we want. This is what we want. Does that mean, well, what if we go 3-16? I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you that no, we're not gonna go 3-something. But then you're just gonna say, well, what if you do? And I'm like, okay, then we're just talking in a circle. Okay, I don't care. That's fine. I can tell you that the division is difficult, so chances of winning 7 games is not very high. We know that. We know that if the Raiders win 6, 7 games, that's awesome. We know that. You know, there's a little bit of dark on my face, so let me close some blinds and see if I can get that center of my face to be a little bit less Zoc. You know what I mean? They call me poetry in motion, ladies and gentlemen. And sometimes it just needs to be the right temperature. I know it's a little bit dark. Bear with me. If you want to help out and you're just like, bro, your camera sucks. My camera is actually not bad. It's actually great, but my lens is not great. So hit the like, hit the subscribe, because you gotta get some upgrades in. But we know that. Back to the point. Let's just go right back to the point. Yeah, we know the Raiders are in a really tough division. We know what the 4th rated team in our division. We know that. You're speaking to the choir, and Raider Nation is the choir. Raider, you guys suck. You guys have been banned for 20 years. I know. We know that. What about Jamarcus Russell? Yeah, Jamarcus Russell. Yeah, we know that too. We know. We were there for it, remember? What, you think that hurt you more than it hurt us? Is that what you're suggesting? No, it didn't. We were there for it. Every painful season. Every Raiders, why do you keep doing this? Every fumbles at the wrong time. If only that quarterback was a little bit faster. Oh man. Do you remember the hopes of Darren McFadden? I'm not even going back to Jamarcus. Let's leave that behind. No. Do you remember the hopes we had in Darren McFadden? Oh, and McFadden was so good. And then the injury came. And then the injury didn't go away. And then it's just like, come on, man. Darren McFadden was so good. But Janty's different. Janty will be less prone to injury. Here's how I know that. Because Janty is shorter. A lot shorter than Darren McFadden. Janty, okay, it's just a little bit of side science. The fact that Janty is shorter means that Janty can cover up more of his body quicker than other running backs. The reason why we call Janty a bowling ball is because he's short. He's really built to just go into a shell really quickly. So I do know that because it means that Janty's main joints don't get hit as often. I know it sounds crazy, except it doesn't. It's just obvious science. It doesn't sound crazy. So I do believe that Janty will be less prone to injuries, right? Guys, generally big guys who also have a particular good enough height generally do well injury-wise in the NFL. So Derrick Henry doesn't get injured very much. One, he's just big. He's tall and he's big. And he happens to be really fast. So Derrick Henry is a freak show. Believe it or not, Janty's not a freak show. Janty, I think more like Emmitt Smith. Think more of that. Think more of like new school Emmitt Smith if Emmitt Smith was like a beefcake. Emmitt Smith was really strong, but Janty has muscles just everywhere. All of Janty is just muscles, right? So think of that. So I do believe that Janty will just be less prone to injuries because he will cover up more of his important extremities better. His knees, shoulders, elbow, right? And Janty can also take a hit because he's generally gonna go lower than everybody else. This one I know from absolute experience playing football. The most painful thing that has ever physically happened to me is tackling, well, at that age, was tackling a high school running back. JV, but this was like a JV kid who was obviously going to be starting varsity. I got him down. Oh, don't worry. I got him down. And I got my own vengeance in my on the field, on the football field, in my particular way because I was very shifty. Okay, I was playing safety. This was practice. I was playing safety. He breaks through the hole. I go in. He's quite a bit shorter than me. Trust me when I say this, that does matter because he just got down quicker than I did. Hit me square in the chest. We both go down. I mean, it was a hit. I got him down, but I was like, okay. Yeah. So believe me, when Janty hits you, it does hurt. And the thing is, Janty's always going to hit you because he's so much lower. He's going to be so much lower than you are. Okay. That's what we were talking about, right? I was talking about Janty, right? Absolutely, I was talking about Janty. Yeah. So we know that Darren McFadden, we've been there. After Darren McFadden, who was the next significant? We had the Aaron Brooks that we thought he was going to be help us because he was a fast quarterback. We got him from New Orleans. He was fast. I was a big Aaron Brooks fan in New Orleans. The Saints, New Orleans. It's just barely just say Saints, right? I was a big fan of him. We picked him up from the Saints. Didn't work out. We really thought that was gonna work out. He had the speed. He had the arm. He had the talent. Think of Geno Smith. Think of Geno Smith. Yeah, that's what Aaron Brooks was. Again, Geno Smith. We've done that. We've done that system twice, where we get the older quarterback who's known for using his leg in a good cannon in his older age, bringing him over after a major injury, bringing him over to our team to see if he can revitalize us. We've done it. This is the second time we've done that. Didn't work. We've done what if we don't go with the best? What if we can't get the best quarterback in the draft because, how did we? Who was drafted? Which quarterback was drafted the same year Derek Carr was? I think whoever it was went number 1, right? Because you got to believe us when we say this. We've been trying to get a quarterback since Jamarcus Russell. We've had a few stints in there that were kind of okay, but nothing ever stuck. Derek Carr came and he literally dropped into Raider Nation's lap. Derek Carr just dropped into our lap. Because that draft, and I don't remember who the quarterback was, but I believe the Raiders were 4th. I remember because I was driving home from, I was in seminary, driving home, and I was on top of a hill, driving down, and I'm calling a friend after we drafted, I think it was after we drafted Derek Carr. And the reason for that was this: why not after we drafted Khalil Mack? Let me make sure I'm recalling the story correctly, this particular story, because we drafted Khalil Mack first. But the reason why is we weren't going to draft Derek Carr number 4. We weren't going to do that. And Khalil Mack was just a freak show that nobody knew about to the combines. Trust me when I say this. The NFL world knew nothing about Khalil Mack to the combines. And then after the combines, everyone started watching. By the time the draft came, Khalil Mack, it was clear like, oh yeah, the Jaguars were going to pick Khalil Mack. And the Jaguars drafted Blake Bortles. That's what happened. That's what happens. The Jaguars drafted Blake Bortles. And I remember either after we drafted Khalil Mack or after we drafted Derek Carr, even though I feel like it was after we drafted Khalil Mack. Yes, it was after we drafted Khalil Mack because Derek Carr was the next day. Derek Carr was around 2, which was second. It was the second day. Yes, after Blake, this is what happened. Right after the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Blake Bortles, I called my friend just frantic, freaking out like, what? Because we thought for sure they were going to go with Khalil Mack. We thought for sure they would go Khalil Mack. But they took the gamble on the quarterback. And I called him freaking out. I'm like, are we about to draft Khalil Mack? And I was driving home to catch the Raiders draft because I was studying, so I had to drive home quickly to catch the Raiders draft. And I'm like, are we about to draft Khalil Mack? And I got home to start watching it. And right when, obviously, I started watching it, and we did, in fact, draft Khalil Mack because we knew there was a good chance that Derek Carr would be there for us in next time around. I believe, was it pick 36? Was he picked 36 or 34? I wonder if he got same number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in that case, he would have been picked 34. And sure enough, Derek Carr was there, picked 34. So the point I'm making with that is we know that. We've known that for a long time. The Raiders have been bad. But there's a very good chance that Fernando fixes that. Because Fernando isn't a gamble. He really is. He really was the best quarterback out of college. He really is one of the best quarterbacks out of college in the past 10 years. If you're going to rank that, last 10 years, let's see. Well, last 10 years, we wouldn't go that far because last 10 years means we're going to have to incorporate people like Patrick Mahomes. But if we're just going to stick it to college, yeah, he will rank top 10 out of college if we're just going to keep it straight to college. But top in the last 5 years, he definitely ranks up there. Right? Caleb Williams. Fine. Justin Herbert. Fine. You know, you get what I'm saying. This is a real chance. And then we got the coaches in place. And that was also some storybook miracle that we didn't know would happen. I mean, we were debating if the team had waited too long because you got to understand, after the first 2 days, all the coaches were gone. I'm going to take a quick water break. I'll be back in, let's say, 5 seconds. After the third day at best, all the top coaches were gone, right? But we knew we were waiting because the playoffs was still, the competition was not over yet, right? We still had to wait for the playoffs to end. So there was a real debate of, are we going to lose out again on a top coach because we waited too long? Because yes, Clint Kubiak was coming off as, he might be the top coach well before the Super Bowl was played. When the playoffs began, Clint Kubiak he might be the top coach. But he wasn't top coach till they actually got to the Super Bowl, right? People may forget that. But yeah, there were other candidates that people thought would be better options than Clint Kubiak, and definitely better than waiting for Clint Kubiak. But somehow, some way, Tom Brady or whoever worked their magic and we got Clint Kubiak. And by the way, getting Clint Kubiak is not a small stake on the parts of the people who put this thing together, because Clint Kubiak's father and the Raiders, as well as the Shanahans, they're not big fans of the Raiders, and the Raiders are not big fans of them. Business is business, right? Business is business. And sometimes the end of business is some people feel spited by other people's decisions. It is what it is. I'm never gonna go against my Raiders for anyone who was a Bronco under any circumstance. That ain't happening. So Clint Kubiak is a son of a Bronco. Cool. One of my favorite football players of all time was a Bronco. Two of them, in fact. Terrell Davis and Clinton Portis. Dude, Terrell Davis was great. Clinton Portis was amazing. Clinton Portis, I don't even know what he's doing right now. For those who are watching, I'm just going to ramble for a bit. So we get more people in here so we can talk about a topic. But if we're done, eventually I'm going to talk about a topic and then we'll just keep going on from there. Clinton Portis. Clinton Portis. Is that how you spell his name? Clinton.
What's going on, world?
Whatever happened to
running back Clint Portis. Here are my top 3 Broncos memories. Number 1, I would have to say my rookie year. It wasn't even a football game. It was rookie.
He was a great running back.
night before the Arizona Cardinals game, which ended our season. So that would be my number one fondest memory.
Now the 8th game in his rookie season, he's gone over the 100-yard mark.
I probably had what I think Junior Seau Harrison.
Touchdown Denver.
So it was
There's a handoff, Portis, left side, breaks the hole, and he's gone 30, 25, 20. Touchdown Denver.
So it was like the first jumping over Junior Seau. And as soon as my feet touched the ground.
Enough of that. Terrell Davis and Clint Portis, those are my two Broncos that I remember the most in a positive light. The only other team on the West only other player I know, I don't think there's anybody else. Because, yeah, there are other great running backs in the AFC West, right? LaDainian Tomlinson, but even if someone even told me that I look like LaDainian Tomlinson, I don't think I look in LaDainian Tomlinson with like positive affection because he's a Charger and I just don't like. I don't like any Charger players. I don't know. It is what it is. But the Broncos, at least I can say that I was a big Terrell Davis fan. Yeah, and I was a big Clinton Portis fan. All right. Let's move on to the topic then. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with the topic of the Raiders' offensive line. Because let's be honest, last year the Raiders' offensive line was very offensive to anyone who loved the game of football. And that has been the number one shtick against the Raiders this year. That, yeah, you have Mendoza, but what about your offensive line? That was so bad last year. You didn't fix that. So that means everything is still bad this year. So we're going to talk about the Raiders' offensive line and essentially kind of show people who might be new to the Raiders and maybe don't watch the Raiders regularly why the offensive line is going to be very different and, may I say, very fixed based on what it was last year. And we're going to do that by focusing on each position, starting with the left tackle of the offensive line, and kind of tell the general story of the offensive line of the Las Vegas Raiders. Left tackle is played by Colton Miller. Let's bring our boy up real quick. Colton Miller is one of the best offensive tackles in the league. He's been ranked as high as top 5, right? The problem, though, is that Colton Miller gets injured pretty much every season. He's a very big guy. Colton Miller is 6'7", 326 pounds. He is a very big guy. So he does get a lot of lower body injuries. Pretty much every single year, Colton Miller has been injured. But when he is not injured, Colton Miller is one of the best doing it right now. Colton Miller is still 30 years old, meaning that he's still in his prime. And as an offensive lineman and a big guy, unless he wants to retire early, Colton Miller can play till he's around 36 years old. He can. But like I said, the problem is there are frequent injuries. So the Raiders drafted this guy this past year, and I'm going to do a breakdown on him at some point. Trey Zune. So what is special about Trey Zune? Number one, Trey Zune can play every position on the offensive line. He says it himself. Everyone says it about him. That's the number one thing about him that everybody knows to be it. He can play every position. Now, can he play every position at an A+ level? Maybe not. But in the NFL, there are good rooms for a jack of all trades, particularly in the offensive line. Meaning that Trey Zune is also 6'7", 319 pounds. And at the age of 23, it can probably be around 325 pounds if he wants to. So Trey Zune can carry a lot of weight. Just like Colton Miller. Okay. Remember, Colton Miller does get injured quite a bit. So a possible option that the Raiders would go with is to have Trey Zune be the backup for Colton Miller Colton Miller's 30 years old. Trey Zoon is 23. If Trey Zoon can be what we believe he can be a backup for Colton Miller. Okay. Another option is a gentleman by the name of Charles Grant. Although I'm only gonna talk about him right now briefly because we're gonna go back to him a little bit later. Okay, Charles Grant. Charles Grant. Charles Grant is only 24 years old. So, one thing I need to let people know, and people need to keep this in mind whenever you talk about the Raiders are a very young football team. Pretty much every position, we are between the age of 21 to 26. I'm dead serious. The Raiders are a very young team. Okay. Charles Grant was drafted 2 years ago in the 3rd round. Charles Grant is 6'4", 304 pounds. Charles Grant is very powerful, so he's another possible option for the left side, although I'm going to back away because it's more for the right side. Okay. Now I'm going to jump to the controversy that everybody wants to cover, which is the center position. We're going to bypass the left guard position to go straight to the controversy, the center position. And we are going to start that by talking about Tyler Linderbaum. Okay, Linderbaum, not Lindenbaum, Linderbaum. Okay, cool. Tyler Linderbaum is the new center for the Las Vegas Raiders. Last year, the center was Jordan Meredith. Jordan Meredith is a center. However, the fight that people were having was regarding JPJ and Jordan Meredith and who should be center. Here's why the past coaching staff made the right decision to put Jordan Meredith there. Tyler Linderbaum is 6'2", 305 pounds. Tyler Linderbaum is the best center in the NFL. Currently the best center, or at the very least, 1 and 2. Okay. Jordan Meredith is also 6'2", 301 pounds, and he also plays center guard. Okay. Jackson Powers Johnson is 6'3", 325 pounds. I do believe this is probably the reason why Jackson Powers Johnson is a better guard than he is a better center. And 2 coaching staff have said the same thing. And rather than trying to do this jigsaw puzzle, which is what the Raiders have been trying to do with the O-line for the past 3 years, we just went ahead and just fixed it with money because we have a lot of that. Okay. That makes sense? We fixed it with money, and the money was Tyler Linderbaum. That was the money. So we just took care of that. Meaning that going forward, there will be no more confusion about who's guard and who's center, because that was the biggest problem the Raiders O-line had last year. That was it. For anyone who's really questioning what the real issue was it a coaching staff? I don't think it was. I think it really was a mismatch. Yes, they could have fixed it last year. They didn't. We fixed it this year. Tyler's here, and he's going to be with the team for probably the next 10 years. Tyler is 26 years old. Again, O-line generally play longer than other positions. That's the one big benefit of O-line. They can generally play longer than other positions. Their work is more grueling, but their bodies are more built for it and more built for longevity for what they do. So Tyler Linderbaum can still be a Raider for the next 10 years. Okay. Back to the left guard position. With Tyler in the center, that means that Jordan Meredith can go back to his natural position of guard. However, the other possibility is we go back to Trey Zoon. Remember, Trey Zoon can play every single position. So it is feasible. Let me find him real quick again. Oh, it's at the bottom, Z. So it is possible that Colton Miller plays left guard and Trey Zoon plays left. So Colton Miller plays left tackle and Trey Zoon plays left guard. That would give you two 6'7" monsters on your on both side on your left side, or shall we say, on the quarterback's blind side. Okay, that matters, right? So that could be a possibility. This is even more of a possibility because in football, especially in football, height matters. Go listen to my talk about Genty. Height matters. Height will give you an advantage and disadvantage. On the O-line, height also gives the quarterback an advantage or disadvantage. Okay, one of the big problems for quarterbacks, especially shorter quarterbacks, is being able to see past the offensive line, which means that you do have to consider how tall your offensive line are going to be. One of the reasons why the Raiders like myself are excited about Fernando Mendoza is because Fernando Mendoza is 6'5", meaning Fernando Mendoza can see over any offensive line unit that we put out there. We can indeed put two 6'7" people right next to each other, playing tackle and playing guard. If they have the athleticism, we know that Colton Miller does. If Tues-Thursday has the athleticism, and it seems like he does, even though athleticism is going to be his weakness, so he may not be able to play tackle. That's why people say that he's going to be a guard, even though he's got the massive size to be a tackle. He's going to be a guard because he doesn't move as quick as somebody like a Colton Miller. So big package. We're talking big package at this point. Two 6'7" on your left side. Yo, Venti, my man, you are just in time because I am talking about the offensive line, and I just got to the left guard position. For the right tackle, for the left tackle, I said Colton Miller is going to have it locked down, but Colton Miller does get injured a lot. So Tues-Thursday is probably going to be the backup for that, although Tues-Thursday doesn't have enough speed based on what we know about his playing time in college, so he's going to be a guard. Now imagine, Venti, if you got Colton Miller, 6'7" tackle, and 6'7" Tues-Thursday playing left guard. Mendoza is 6'5". It can see over anything that we put up. So we can legitimately put up a wall in front of the defense, at least on that side, right? And then Jordan Meredith is going to be your backup or maybe starter, depending on how good he is. Okay, let's go back to the size concept there and look at Jordan Meredith. Miller needs to stay healthy. He does. He never does every year. Again, I say he's a big guy. It makes sense that he doesn't. So Raider Nation is not mad at him at all. Don't worry. We love our boy. We're not mad at him. We have talked about trading him, but we know he's a big guy. Staying healthy for a big guy is difficult to do. But again, remember, big guys play longer than most other players in the NFL. So he can play until he's around the age of 36. Okay. Keep that in mind. Jordan Meredith could be the possible left starting guard, and he is coming in at 6'2", 301 pounds. Again, height matters. In football, interior height matters even more. Yes, Tues-Thursday can play guard, but only because Fernando Mendoza is 6'5", he can see over that. Generally speaking, your guard and your centers, you want them to be around 6'2" to 6'4". Generally speaking, so that your quarterback doesn't have any issue seeing over them. And this has been an issue in the past for quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, because that does depend on how you're going to scheme them up. I really think dude faked injury a lot over the year because, I would say no. I don't think that's the case. I really do think being as big as Colton Miller does invite more lower body injuries. But I also think that his body is just going to keep... I feel like people don't understand. I feel like the one thing science that we haven't comprehended when it comes to sports is the bigger you are means the bigger space your body has to grow. So Colton Miller being 325 pounds, he can be bigger than that if he wants to. So a lot of his work is trying to maintain that core weight, which does put a lot of stress on his knees. And I think as he gets older, he's going to keep playing better and better and better or more consistently. So I do think at some point going forward, I think Colton Miller's body is going to stop getting injured as much, or it might just get too injured and then he has to retire. That also happens. But I say for the NFL, man, don't be too hard on your linemen who get injured a lot because they're carrying a lot of weight. And part of their body of maintaining that weight is putting a lot of pressure, particularly on their knees. That's carrying a very heavy upper body. How many more years Miller has on his contract? I think he has 2 more years, but I hope we re-sign him because he's actually just hitting his prime now as an offensive lineman. Offensive linemen really hit their prime between like the age of 25. Their prime is more extended than a regular, than like a wideout. Again, because the downside of being so big is you do accrue more like knee injuries, but the positive side is your body can take a lot more longevity. So, okay. So guard, back to Meredith being 6'2". That's a great size for a guard. Okay. So he could be the guard there, or we could put in Trey Zune. However, here's where the Raiders start to be extremely interested when it comes to the O-line position. Because there's another guy here that we have by the name of Charles Rogers. Caleb Rogers. Okay. Caleb Rogers, we drafted him 2 years ago, and he's 6'4", 312 pounds. Remember, guards are good. Between 6'2" and 6'4" is a good guard. Caleb Rogers is a potentially good guard as well in either position because one of his main traits was also the fact that he could play anywhere on the line, right? Okay. The other thing we got to talk about with the Raiders here when it comes to the O-line especially is contract years and age. Remember when I told you that the Raiders are a really young team? They are. And nowhere are the Raiders even younger than the offensive line because everyone on our offensive line outside of Colton Miller is 23 or 24. Meaning in the next 3 years, all of them are going to be looking for a contract. Okay. For people who are wondering, what is the Raiders' goal this coming year? This is the Raiders' goal this coming year. We need to find the foundational pieces for the Raiders for the next 10 years, positionally. Who is going to be our anchors at all of these positions? Remember, they're all between the age of 23 and 24. Meaning out of this 23 and 24-year-olds that we have, at each position, somebody needs to solidify themselves as the person for that position. You see what I'm saying? This is why Raiders camp battle is going to be so cool and so interesting because everybody knows they're fighting for a massive contract in the next 3 years. When the Raiders drafted all of their free agents, how many years of contract did we give them? 3 years. The Raiders are rebuilding. And what that rebuild means is, who do we need to give money to in the next 3 years? That's what the Raiders team is going through right now. Players on the team, they are fighting for a big contract. Because the Raiders are so young, most positions are not really solidified yet. There are a few positions we know belong to some people, such as Colton Miller will most likely win left tackle because he is one of the best in the league. Jackson Powers-Johnson will most likely be right guard. Center is for sure, right? But let's move on to the right guard. Let's move on to Jackson Powers-Johnson. Because yes, Jackson Powers-Johnson is really good, but Jackson Powers-Johnson has two main issues. Number one is health. So Vente just said it. We're going to have to pay a lot of guys in 3 to 4 years, but that's not the way to look at it. A lot of guys are going to receive some massive contracts in 2 to 3 years. And those guys know who they are. And one of them is Jackson Powers-Johnson. He has always had two problems. Number one is injuries. He gets injured too much. Okay, he needs to address that. Jackson Powers-Johnson gets injured every single year as well. He's been in the league for 3 years, and every single year he's been injured. Twice, 2 years, he was injured multiple times per year. Okay. Jackson Powers-Johnson is also known mostly as an aggressive, powerful guard and not so much of a tactician. And let me break that down by telling you this. Tyler Linderbaum, the number one trait that he's actually known for is being able to read the defense efficiently. He is very good at reading the defense. Let me find him real quick. Pay him some due respect. So Tyler Linderbaum is 6'1", 305 pounds. He is a wrestler. 6'2". He is a wrestler, one of the best wrestlers in college. The reason why he's a really good center is because, one, he's only 6'2", so he's not 6'7". So again, that reduces injury because his body is just shorter. If you look at my thumbnail, you'll see the size difference. He's considerably shorter than Colton Miller. And remember, in football, again, size does matter because the lower you are to the ground, the better center of gravity you're going to have. Better for your knees. So Tyler Linderbaum doesn't get injured. At least has not gotten injured very much, right? 6'2", lower to the ground, and is a wrestler. Really good base. That's what makes him a really good center, and that's why he's the best center in the league. His body's built for it, and he did the necessary steps. He learned some techniques through wrestling. Okay. So you go back to Jackson Powers-Johnson. He's a little bit taller. He plays more upright. So he uses more of his power. But sometimes that gets him in trouble because he can also be too aggressive. And that's always been the big flaw with, the second flaw with Jackson Powers-Johnson. He plays too aggressively sometimes and gets flagged. Jackson Powers-Johnson, it's so crazy talking about him. Because if you watch his video, and we're not going to do it now because we're talking about the overall offensive line, he will throw his body into anything to get the job done. Good. Aggression. And then we go to the right tackle, which is the least filled position, although I do think the current right tackle will actually win that job out. And his name is... Why am I forgetting his name? Because his name is hard to remember. His name is actually hard to remember. See if you can remember the name that I'm thinking of. Oh, DJ Glaze. His name is hard to remember because DJ Glaze is not a common name to put together. Okay, DJ Glaze. You want to see something really, really cool about DJ Glaze? How many years has DJ Glaze been in the league? Do you think, Venti? He's been in the league for 3 years, right? How many guys do you think we have to give new contracts to? In the next 3 years, we're going to have to give out new contracts to a lot of people, dude. A lot of people. It's not. I'm not even kidding. A lot of people, including possibly Fernando. Fernando Mendoza can get a new contract in 3 years also, if he's good. Yeah, we know that, right? And he can get a brand new contract in 3 years. Oh yeah, the next 5 years for the Raiders, contract-wise, is going to be very interesting, right? Okay, DJ Glaze needs to show up. He's gonna again. No, he's not. Here's why. DJ Glaze has played 3 years in the NFL. DJ Glaze is still 23 years old. DJ Glaze was 21 when he got drafted. DJ Glaze is one of the youngest offensive lines that we have, and he's already started at the right side position. Well, he needs to get better. Well, sure, he needs to get better, but he's 23 years old. So, DJ Glaze will be fine. DJ Glaze is 6'4", pretty good height for a tackle. If he was 6'5", probably preferred. But again, DJ Glaze also doesn't get injured. DJ Glaze has not gotten any major injuries. Don't believe what you hear. Believe what you see. DJ Glaze was an all year. It was started all game, right? He started every game this past year, right? 6'4", 331, 23 years old. DJ Glaze is the youngest offensive lineman that the Raiders have. Well, maybe not by a few months. So, DJ Glaze, I believe, will be the right tackle. Here's the other catch, though. If DJ Glaze is not able to shape up, there is Charles Grant that I talked about earlier. So let's bring him up because he may be the starter at that position. You see that? DJ Glaze is younger than Charles Grant. Again, like, I think there's a tendency to write some things off based on the team not doing well overall, and keeping in mind that the positions that were of most consistency last year was Jordan Meredith at center and DJ Glaze at right tackle. Because Colton Miller got injured a lot, and JPJ got injured a lot. Yeah, guys, DJ Glaze is not a bad player. Based on the facts of what we're seeing, he played all season and he started every game and didn't get injured and still started every game. DJ Glaze is not a bad player, and he's still 23 years old. Thoughts on that, Venti? So yeah, I think the starting line is going to be Colton Miller. The left guard position is the one that's the least sure, because it could be Trey Zune or it could be Jordan Meredith. That's an actual competition there. Or it could even be Caleb Rogers. That's an actual competition there. Or we could have two positions there, one for big package, Trey Zune for big package. So remember, he's 6'7". Bring him in for big package, and then Jordan Meredith for regular packages, or maybe even Caleb Rogers. And then at the center position, we got Tyler Lindenbaum. And remember, Jordan Meredith will go in as backup when Tyler if Lindenbaum gets injured, but he hasn't gotten injured yet, so I don't think that's going to happen. But if he does, there's a backup for that. And remember, Trey Zune can also play center. And because our quarterback is 6'5", he can see over anybody easily. Okay, and for the left guard position, JPJ, I think it's still JPJ. The only other question there is Caleb Rogers going to take that position? Because again, age and skill matters. And Caleb Rogers is the same age as JPJ. And if he proves to be just equally as good, he's fighting for a contract in the next 2-3 years, just like Jackson Powers Johnson. So again, there's a battle happening in that particular position to watch out for. Okay, and then rounding that off is right tackle. Glaze, if you're still here, I hope you're still here, because it's hard for me to say who's going to start on the line. I need to see. Yeah, exactly. But remember, the other position we also did not address in the O-line specifically was the right tackle position. I think DJ Glaze might be coming along better than people are realizing, because he's got the size, 6'4", and he's 325. Unlike Charles Grant, who's actually only three something, much less. He's got the size, he's got the height, and he's got the speed. Based on what we're seeing, I think DJ Glaze might be much better off than we realize. With the center more solidified and with that guard next to him more solidified, I think DJ Glaze is going to prove to be a better. So that concludes this super in-depth conversation about the O-line. I'm gonna stop the conversation here and move on to something else. But I hope that answers the question for anybody who's wondering what the Raiders O-line situation is looking like. It's looking quite good. And the main reason is because Linderbaum fixes the number one issue that we had, which was who's going to play the center, because we don't have a good prototypical center who has a technique and the brain for a center, as well as those other positions. And with Linderbaum in there, we have all three of those because he's the best at that position in the league. Thank you for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Okay, still here. It's gonna be yeah. I honestly think the battle there is. I think there's really only two side battle there. I think there's only two sides, and it's the left guard and the right guard. I think that's the only battle. DJ Glaze is the person that people would like to talk more about, but I think his play is showing that he's learning. Someone like Dalton Wagner, right? How old do you think Dalton Wagner is? You remember him? Remember when he was drafted? How old do you think he is? You know? So because of that, I think Glaze might be in a much better position with the team than people are giving him credit for. And he started all of last season, right? He started every game last season. Was he elite? No, he wasn't. He wasn't even middle of the pack, but he wasn't bottom of the pack, right? He wasn't bottom of the pack. Dalton Wagner is 27 years old. Okay, there are things you just have to look at to just go, okay, actually, yeah, that makes sense. Dalton Wagner is 27 years old. He needs to show something this year. You've been in the league for 2 years, but because you're already 27, you don't have a lot of wiggle room anymore to prove that you should keep getting a contract, unless he wants to be on the practice squad, right? He's 6'8", and before, isn't he the guy who wanted to be a wrestler? Maybe not. So he needs to show something this coming year. Who else needs to show something? Even Trey Zune. Trey Zune is the same age as Glaze, DJ Glaze. And Trey Zune has been starting as an NFL tackle for the past 2 years. And he's the same age. I think DJ Glaze is much more solid than Raider Nation wants to give him credit for. All right, so we got that. Grady Van, no. We already talked about Caleb Rogers, Jackson Powers Johnson. We already talked about him. Making sure I'm not missing anybody. Kumar Missouri. 6'5", 310. Texas San Antonio. No age though. Rookie. Okay. I don't know him. I think that's all the O-line. Nicholas Henning. This is the guy who was drafted from Canada, right? Yeah. This is the guy who was drafted from Canada. And he is 6'7". Ooh. 6'7", but only 287? Ooh. That's kind of skinny. I think they're gonna try and put more pounds on him. I think they're gonna try and put more pounds on him, see if he can play guard or tackle. He can move. Okay, so speed is the thing. Okay, good. They're gonna try and put more pounds on him though. It needs to be at least 300. He's got to be at least 300. If he can maintain 300 and still have the speed, oh yeah. Oh no. You gotta put pounds on him. He's too small. He's too small. Even if it's fast, okay. So, yeah. The thing is though, strength and size go hand in hand. Unless you're talking about freakish strong, but if he's playing in the Canadian Football League, if he got drafted in the Canadian Football League, he's not freakish strong. He's not gonna be freakish strong. That's interesting. Let's dissect this a little bit more. 6'6". He is 6'6". The same height as Colton Miller. But Colton Miller is Colton Miller is 326 pounds. Oh yeah. Like he did. Yeah, he needs to put on more pounds. I guarantee you. I would love to actually gauge this to see. I'm gonna put bet on it, not actual bet because I don't do that. But I'm gonna put bet on it that he is going to get bigger in his first year. I'm gonna put bet that he's gonna put on at least 20 pounds. Let me look for him again. Oh, come on. Dude, at that size, I mean, if he wants to play tight end, lose some weight and you can play tight end, but no, that would be terrible. What's his name again? I think it's more at the top. He wasn't drafted by the Raiders. He was picked up undrafted free agent. And secondly, what's his age? Yeah, Nicholas Henning. We don't know his age. They don't have his age. I mean, he doesn't have that much to go. But his body can easily, at 6'6", his body can easily put on another 20 pounds. Because if he's able to put on 20 more pounds, he can play tackle. The thing is this, Venti, at 287, dude, ends are going to destroy you. Someone like a Michael Parsons, like people think Michael Parsons play with speed. No, Michael Parsons play with burst. Michael Parsons wants to shove you. At 287, yeah, I think Michael Parsons will easily move this guy out of the way. It doesn't matter how fast he is. So I think he's going to put on more pounds. Oh, this is exciting. This is super exciting. Yeah. Or maybe he's just listed lower. Let's actually, I wasn't going to watch any videos today, but yeah, let's watch a video. I want to see him play it. Maybe there's no video on him though. There might not be any videos on him. Okay.
With the second pick in the 2026 CFL Canadian Draft, the Toronto Argonauts select Nicholas Henning, offensive lineman, Queens.
Okay.
A play along the offensive line.
Yeah, this is remarkable. Nick Henning, an All-Canadian, has
played in 43 career games at Queens. Okay, 2023 had 7 reception. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, this is what I'm saying right here. The size thing. Yeah, at that size, you could play him as a tight end in a big package. You really could. Yeah, you really could play him at that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
as an H-back tight end.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, okay. H-back tight end is not gonna work in the NFL. It will not work in the NFL. There is no such thing as an H-back tight end. So, I am pretty certain the plan is to beef him up a little more, give him a little more pounds, and he can legitimately, dude. If a Canadian person gets drafted and picked up by the NFL and actually becomes a great player, that's the story you want with him. To play in the NFL, you gotta have the size. I'm sorry, you gotta have the size. It matters. Like, it really matters. So it's either you slim down and be a really big tight end, or you bulk up and be a really strong guard with speed. And if his body can push all the way up to like 320, oh my goodness. But let's assume either big tight end or small guard.
After attending the U Sports East-West Bowl, where you're in front of CFL scouts, etc., makes the decision to move to offensive line. This is a guy,
And he was invited to the Raiders and the Colts camp.
who does position, but when you look at the offensive line group, this
This is him.
is one of the highest ceiling guys in this
Yeah, he
entire
can move a
draft.
person.
Remarkable testing numbers, Marsh, when you look at his combine as an O-lineman.
Yeah, freaky numbers, and the athleticism
Yeah, he can move that guy, but okay.
is obvious
that's
when you
the
watch any of the
NFL
game
talent.
film. He said that the principles of blocking are all the exact same from when he was an H-back, but obviously when you're an offensive lineman, you're dealing with bigger bodies, you're looking at different
He was an H-back? He was a running back? What?
angles, different touch points. But what I love about this is that he basically said, yeah, I put on about 55 pounds worth of weight going H-back to offensive lineman. I didn't lose any athleticism. That is ridiculous to be able to pull that off.
Okay. I need you to hear this again. Because this is the key. Are we being serious?
Of lineman, I didn't lose any athleticism. What I love about this is that he basically said, yeah, I put on about 55 pounds worth of weight going
There it is. Venti. He put on 55
H-back to
pounds
offensive lineman. I did
to go into H-back to offensive line, and he didn't lose any athleticism. Oh yeah, perfect. Let's give you 20 more pounds. Let's give you 20 more pounds. If you went from that and you didn't lose athleticism, oh, we can eat some athleticism for a little bit more size. Mwah. Thank the football gods. Give me an experiment. Here's what I'm gonna say. We don't need a tight end. If your body can handle 55 pounds and not lose athleticism, we're going to give you 20 to 25 more pounds, because at that point, and you might be like, no, we're applying way too much science here. We give you 20 more pounds, you go from 287, so let's say from 290 to 310. We push you to 310. You're not going to lose very much more athleticism. You might be one of the most athletic tackles in the NFL. Are you being serious? Hell yes. And if his body can handle that speed, that means his body can also handle the size. And the size is going to equal more power, because, again, there's no way to increase power unless you increase mass. Ladies and gentlemen, I am praying this dude is like 23 years old. I am praying he's 23 years old. Oh, yeah, he's going to get in the weight room, and he'll be good to go.
didn't lose any athleticism. That is ridiculous to be able to pull that off. Any normal human being who puts 50 plus pounds on knows that. He stays athletic. His feet are still good. He ran a freaky fast 40. I believe he was the first sub-5 40-yard dash.
Sub-5? He ran a sub-5? If you run a sub-5, that makes you a tight end. So if you run a sub-5, that's tight end. So again, he could shrink back down 45 pounds and just be a tight end. Right? Legitimately, think about it. If he put on, he put on 55 pounds, let's say in theory, to go to 290, let's just round that out. To go to 290, he put on 50. Let's go even. Put on 50 pounds to go to 290. If you take off that 50 pounds, you're back at 240. That's a tight end. You'd be one of the fastest tight ends in the league. Are you kidding me? What? I will smoke to that all day. But here's the thing, though. Where is it going to be more useful? Offensive line. So I say, no, brother. Put on 15 to 20 more pounds. Get that good base. Get those muscles really out there. Just pushing people, right? Michael Parsons comes at you and you just hold him in place and oh my God. I love football. Are you kidding me? How old is he? That's my next question. How old is he? If he's like 26, I'm like, man, shoot, we got to move now.
We've seen Jamal Campbell that came out, offensive lineman from York, way back almost a decade ago at this point. So happy for Nicholas Henning, man, because this is one of those great, unique journeys to the Canadian Football League.
And Dwayne, your point was he made the decision to go to offensive line. I think there was some help from some of his coaches. For all you guys who understand, like when you go in as a tight end sometimes.
Yeah, he's a tight end. He was playing tight end. Yeah. Trust me. Find me the smallest offensive line in the NFL you've got. He's going to be over 300 pounds.
Sooner or later, they're going to move you to offensive line when you're big, athletic, and say, put on 50 pounds. So athletic.
Especially in the Canadian Football League, they're gonna put you in the most important position, which is offensive tackle. We know you can catch balls and whatnot, but we got smaller people that can play that. If you're that big and you can put on 50 pounds, I'm making you offensive tackle. That's the most important position. It's more important than tight end.
Athleticism, you need athleticism to play offensive line.
Screw a tight end. 6'6", and you can be 280 and be fast. Screw a tight end. Offensive tackle.
I know size important.
Sit that big dude right there. You block him. You put him on the ground. That's how you teach football. Put that guy in the ground. I don't need you.
But you got to also be athletic. What he's got to work on, there's a few things. Like his pass set's got to obviously keep developing, using his hands.
Guys, I mean, if for anyone who's excited about him, you got to understand he's an experiment because we don't know if he can play any position correctly. He moved from H-back to O-line playing tight end. I don't know if he can block a damn thing. Yeah, he did it in Canada, Canadian Football League, but goddamn, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he can do, but the reason I believe they drafted him would have to be this, because this is the reason that I drafted him, because I was like, what, immediately when I heard it. He put on 55 pounds and didn't lose athleticism. That doesn't mean he didn't get slower. That means he put on that much pounds and he can still run fast. Dude, that's the key. That's why they picked him up. And if you pick up somebody like that, you tell me, for anyone who's watching. Happened yesterday. I hope I wasn't muted for long because my mic got unplugged yesterday, and I had 2 people show up and my mic got unplugged. So I did stream yesterday, but I had to delete it because it got messed up. So I had to delete it. Okay. But that's gonna end that. I'm trying to decide what to do next. If I should just end stream or play something. Let me end stream. That's gonna be the end of stream. I do have some errands I got to go run, and I have to pick up my son in an hour 30 minutes. So let me go run those errands. Venti, thanks for staying loyal with me, man. This week you're gonna see me every day. I'll be back tomorrow. If you're still here, let me know. But tomorrow we're gonna do the defensive line tomorrow, specifically defensive line. That's going to be tomorrow. So the plans for the week is pretty much set. We're gonna do positional breakdowns. We'll do positional breakdowns again as camp starts, but we're gonna just keep that track up. So thank you again for showing up. For anybody who's watching this after the stream, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Come back again, Venti. I'm going to try to start around 12 which means around between 12 and 12:30. But tomorrow will be defensive line. We're going to do some talk before that. I'm always going to do Raider news before that. But see you again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. God bless.